Well, I hate to cut you off, but I feel like this is good podcast-worthy material that you're getting into right now. Because the embargo lifts tomorrow, so you're free to just completely talk about anything and everything about it.
Pretty much, yep.
And yeah, that should be. I would think that's going to be your main game that you played this week.
Correct. My roommate sold me his Super NES Classic for Song, and that has been incredibly distracting. But
I could sell you mine. I don't play the fucking thing at all, so I really should, but I won't though, because I figure there might be a time and a place and a day I might come to it. Come back.
And
to
what
it.
is better than one Super Nintendo Classic? It's two.
You've got two of them?
Yeah, side by side. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Press X, the podcast for the week of July the 9th, 2018. This is episode 24. I'm your host, Paul Sullivan, and alongside me I have two of COG's finest, absolute finest, Trevor Houston.
Heyo!
James Paley.
Hello.
And that's it. That's the three of us. How's it going, you guys?
I'm doing excellent. Excellent. I noticed once again, Sean, Mr. I have two houses, three boats, live on an island, he's now missed two in a row, and he's missing a lot of podcasts. He has a lot of casting to make up when he gets back, because here it is, us three, ever so reliable, back again, and Sean, once again, absent.
He's gathering a lot of strikes. Let's put it that way. We haven't really... It's untrodden territory, so we don't know how many strikes one can actually sustain before they're thrown from the cast.
Yeah, it's definitely more than three. He definitely has more than three strikes, and a lot of IOUs. He's got a lot of IOUs to make up for. So,
well, he's waiting for that fifth internet line to come into the house, and he can't live in the mansion without 5 internet lines and 6 offices and a golden toilet.
That's right. He has his internet provider setting up special tubes to his house. So special direct pipes and tubes into his house that go under the ocean all the way straight from Vancouver. So
no, not straight from Vancouver. Straight from the internet to his house.
Straight from the internet world.
I hope he listens to this so he knows that he's getting shit.
Yeah, we'll be sure to remind him. Hopefully he's not just downloading and not listening. Hopefully he's downloading and listening, not just downloading.
Yeah. That is the ideal state.
Do all the things.
Right.
Download and listen.
But the rest, everybody else, totally okay with just downloading and not listening. You can just download away, write reviews, share, and you don't have to listen. But you will listen.
You will. You won't be able to resist.
Can't.
All these husky voices. While you guys were busy downloading and not listening, did you play any games?
Oh, I feel that we should be starting with James this week, because he's playing the Octogame.
Yes, that is the name on the packaging. What will go out to all the stores. Sqronix's Octogame, coming out July 12th. I believe, is it the 13th? It's the 13th, yes. It's July 13th, the Octogame. Octopath motherfucking Traveler. It is... Well, I'm a big old-ass RPG nerd, so, this particular game is just built specially for me, it feels like. The updated versions of the old-school graphics, the fresh but still familiar combat systems, the exceptionally well-crafted music, the beautiful set pieces, all of it's just like, hey, James, we made you specifically a game. How do you like it? What do you think? Tell us your thoughts. And I'm pretty excited, right?
At its core, it's turn-based, right? It's mainly
correct.
Mm-hmm. And I hear it's massive. I'm hearing somewhere between 50 and 60 hours to complete the main campaign. Does that seem right?
Well, I've put in about 6 so far, and I've probably gotten half of the party together. So We're gonna say yeah, probably a campaign of some length. And yeah, every time you get a new character in your party, I was so fucking excited because you're just like, what's this guy gonna be able to do? Like, there's somebody who you can like, because everybody gets their one little power they can employ outside of battle, and one of them can like recruit fucking strangers on the street with you into battle, just one at a time. But like, hey, person who apparently has faith, come rally under my fucking banner. And that person could be like a child or a man or a woman or like whatever, as long as they're not like currently busy with a fucking job or something. They'll be like, yeah, I'll go out and give you buffs and stuff. And like, yeah, and then one guy like will like pick fights with people. Go on. It's so delightful. The ability is called provoke, and then you just like go up to people, and if you like, it'll give you a little indicator whether you can or you can't. But mostly you can. And you can just fight these people. But if you win, you knock their asses out, so that you can't like talk to them or anything afterwards. So you kind of have to choose so far between recruiting people and picking a fight with them. I think the dancer can do some sort of like she has some sort of like guile or some sort of like wiles or something. I don't want to say like seduce, because I don't think she's actually seducing people, but I think she's basically seducing people. Let's call it charm. Yeah, charm. That sounds like better. Yeah. And then there's somebody who has the ability to steal, which is fucking great. And like it has like a percentage of success, but in the starting town where you first get the guy, it's basically 100 all the time. So you just walk up to everybody you see and grab everything out of their pockets, and they're like standing there patiently waiting for you to say something to them. What? Who was that? It's like, greetings, fine weather we're having here, but you're like stuffing your pockets full of all of their shit.
This sounds all the way up my alley. Like, all the way.
Yeah, yeah, even if the game didn't look amazing, which I can't stress enough, it absolutely fucking does. The mechanics are super compelling and are making me want to go in and like explore and like use everybody's powers to fuck with all of the citizens all the time in every way you can.
Sweet. Yes. And this is like such an advertisement for the fact that polygons do not equal beauty, because this is like very basic pixel art, but it looks gorgeous.
Well, that's the tricky bit, because it is pixel art, but it's weird because they use this tilt shifting graphics style that sort of relies on the illusion of depth in the perspective. And so while you do have pixels, certain elements of the map or of the world you explore will have polygonal depth to them, but everything is still done up in pixels. It's like if pixel art were the building blocks and you use those to make 3D shapes, but not all the time, only sometimes when it provides the right kind of atmosphere. It's actually really fucking weird, and it's kind of interesting how well they pull it off, how like frequently, like how reliably.
Wow. I am sensing an incredibly high review score.
I was just going to say, I am anticipating a very high score. Could it? I mean, I'm not going to put you on the spot because I know you still have a ways to go. Could this be COGconnected? Could this be COGconnected's 5th, 6th perfect score of all time?
No. It's not perfect. It's fantastic. It's not perfect. It's really, really good. One of the few things that I have encountered that really drove me nuts. When you get to the Huntress's story, she's the one who can pick fights with strangers. Do yourself an enormous favor and switch the voiceover to Japanese immediately. Not for the whole game, just for that segment, because everybody in that region uses this particular style of speech that does not come across well in English. It's not great when the voiceovers are Japanese, but you can kind of like roll past it. But watching the English voice actors try to pronounce this fucking hodgepodge of like old-timey language that's been sort of like haphazardly hammered on to the rest of the speech that is used in no other region of the world map aside from this one is really, really jarring.
Okay.
But aside from that, magnifique.
Chef Kiss from James. That is the official COGconnected numerical score. Chef Kiss for Octopath Traveler.
Yeah, I'll find a way to put that into the written review.
Great.
Well, I definitely look forward to that review. And for our listeners, that's COGconnected.com, COGconnected on Twitter, COGconnected. I'm even tripping up over my own words. COGconnected on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. Yes, James will have a video review for this one. You can find us on Instagram. Heck, you can find us on Flipboard, Metacritic, Gamer. You can find us everywhere. And I'm telling you this because I'm your company man.
Wow, you really, you really threw a curveball there.
Yeah, I did. The extra
Good recovery.
mile.
It was an absolute strike, though. Swing and a miss from the batter. Yeah, it was nice. Felt good.
Well, I do look forward to that review. In all seriousness, James, I do look forward to that review. That game is officially on my radar. I do like a really good turn-based game, and yeah, I think I may just download that one.
I recommend it. Okay, what's everybody else playing?
Well, I didn't play too much this week. It was a really busy week. The only thing I really picked up and dove into with any amount of force was Far Cry 5 Arcade, which was part of the game when it came out, but at the time I was thinking, I bet some people will come up with some neat levels and things like that. And the other night I blasted through a pretty nice recreation of Nakatomi Plaza.
What?
Yeah.
What? Can you really do this on Far Cry 5?
Yeah, there was an incredibly tall building that somebody decided to build with those tools, and they threw a bunch of generic terrorists, and of course it's Joseph Seed up at the top, not Hans Gruber, but it was a good time, and there's lots and lots of really neat stuff that's coming out on Far Cry 5 Arcade. Like, the reason I fired it up is because that wacky Mars thing is coming out next week, and I'm so on board with that. Yeah, just wanted to get my bearings back so I can be ready to get my ass to Mars.
Yeah, I saw that Mars. I don't want to, we're going to be talking about it later, which we might as well talk about it now. Yeah, that Far Cry 5 DLC looks pretty cool, and I love how they just stray right away from the main campaign. It seems like they're just not afraid to take you in a completely different fucking dimension if that's what they need to do, and it's it looks really good. If you haven't checked out that teaser trailer that I think Ubi went live with yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, but wait a minute, am I supposed to be talking about today, or are we supposed to be talking about in the
10th.
future?
That would be the 10th.
The 10th. So the 10th, on the 10th, the trailer went live, and it looks pretty cool. If you played Far Cry, I think it's a must. You really need to play that.
They're really channeling the vibe they were going for with Blood Dragon.
Right.
And that was so wacky and amazing. And with Far Cry 5, the 3 DLCs are, one, Vietnam, which is maybe still a little too soon to go down that road, but they did it, and it was pretty cool. And then, Mars, and of course, zombies. So, I mean, Ubi don't give a fuck. They do whatever they want.
So if I want to play this Nakatomi Plaza arcade, so I go into Far Cry 5, I find the arcade mode, and I can just, how do I even find this? Or how do our listeners find this?
I'm pretty sure it was in the featured section on the PS4 version. So I definitely gave it a big thumbs up. So it should be near the top of whatever the top-rated levels are currently, if you're playing in the near future. But yeah, there are just scads and scads and scads of levels. If you want more traditional outposts like are in the main game, there are lots and lots of those, but people have built snow levels and all kinds of wacky stuff. So there's definitely lots of Far Cry to be had out there.
Well, and it's so easy to forget that those old goofy Far Cry games before the series seemed to get a little bit serious, and or at least seemed to take itself a little bit more serious by producing like a really involved, incredible single-player campaign. In the Goofy days, which I'm thinking, at least those Far Cry games from 10 years ago, the level editor was a big part of those games. Like playing multiplayer games on these made-up maps, on these incredible maps, people put together just unbelievable levels. I mean, that's why I loved playing those old Far Cry games, when you had all those sort of crazy powers and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's cool that the level editor is still there, and it looks as though, when people are putting together stuff like that, that's incredible.
Yep, seems like the sky's the limit there. What did you play, Trev?
I fired up the old Game Pass, and I've been playing Rise of the Tomb Raider. And I mean, I knew it was a really solid game, and again, a game that slipped through the cracks that I never played for one reason or another. But I guess what caught me off guard in a good way was I'm surprised by the level of depth, the crafting involved, the skill trees, how you can go at any level. It's linear, but it's not. You can take down enemies in different ways. I think it really encourages stealth, which I love. And I'm really enjoying it, and I can't believe I missed it when it came out 2 years ago. But I am really digging Rise of the Tomb Raider, which I'm playing off the Game Pass, which is weird. So I can play Rise of the Tomb Raider on the Game Pass, but I can't play the 2014 Tomb Raider on Game Pass. For some reason, you'd think both would be on there, but both aren't. But whatever, doesn't matter. I'm enjoying Rise of the Tomb Raider, which I am playing on Game Pass.
Would you call it the best Uncharted game of all time?
Well, yeah. I am not that far. I mean, it's weird. I'm not fully interested in the story too much yet. I'm not that far into it. But I am definitely interested to see where it goes, and I am enjoying leveling up and crafting and taking down enemies. But I still have so much further to go.
Yeah, it's a good ride, because Lara's just such a badass. She's awesome. Way better than Drake.
Yes, and she does have a sexy voice.
Yep, now you know what Sean's talking about. Literally all the time.
All the time.
Nary a moment passes without him mentioning Camilla in one way or another. So.
Yeah. Yes, he does Camilla name drop quite frequently.
First name basis, those two, of course. What do you think, guys? Should we talk about the news?
The news.
Yes, please. I definitely see some items on here that I would like to dig into a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna hazard a guess that Code Vein getting delayed is one of those things.
Yeah, that really sucks.
Well,
Why?
I thought this was a good thing because if I recall correctly, James, I was standing beside you when you were playing the demo at E3, and you didn't seem all that thrilled with the demo. Is that fair? Or maybe that's not fair.
It's kind of hard to say because it did seem like whatever problems I had with it were definitely not problems of polish. Like everything that I saw seemed pretty well put together. It was a weird outlier in that the demo felt both too difficult and too easy, if that makes any sense, which I guess it totally doesn't. But like every time you go to one of these conventions or conferences, or you have an opportunity to play something that the developers like set up for you, generally I find they try to make it harder than you would ordinarily be your first time playing a game. Because normally you pick something up, you go through a tutorial, you do the whole intro thing, but if it's like at an E3 setting, then they basically just chuck you directly in the middle with like precious little in the way of prep. They're like, here's some signs that show you what the controls are. Don't die, or do. We're not the boss. And then you just kind of like haphazardly make your way through it.
God, I hate it when they do that. They did that for Ori, which of course Paul, because he's let's just face it, he's much more skilled gamer than I am. Like, you know, he has a time with Ori. I play Ori and they drop you like dead middle in the game, and it's just fuck me. I had a hell of a time. So I was like, can we do the tutorial, please?
I have a theory about this, and that is that they want your capture to look like ass. They want people to go to their capture and check out their videos of what their gameplay looks like. You know, the people who made it and are absolute experts on the game, not you, Joe Schmo, who showed up and played Code Vein for 15 minutes. That's my theory.
Maybe. Oh, yeah, there could be something to that. I mean, I always just figured they wanted to throw you in the middle of the level because, well, you know, there's all sorts of weapons that have been unlocked by then, all sorts of skills that have been unlocked. You're running into like really nasty enemies by now. Like, I always figure it's it's more of a demo piece when they can really sort of throw some curveballs at you.
That's probably infinitely more likely. Let's just go with that. Maybe I'm right, but possibly it's because it's cooler.
But hey, Code Vein's getting delayed. I'm always a big supporter of games getting delayed to a degree. You know, and I think they even said in the press release that they took the feedback from the Anime Expo and from E3, and they want to go back and just put the game back in the oven a little bit longer to polish it out. So, I mean, this could be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing to have to wait longer, but at the same time, if the end result ends up better, then all the power to him.
What else do we got? Oh, there's I don't know if it's a new game or an update to No Man's Sky coming out next month.
It's an update.
It's a huge update.
Well, they're all huge updates. It's like the fourth. I think it's the fourth major one because there was like Atlas and there was like two others, and then this big one is called Next, and it's basically coming with the game's arrival on Xbox One, and that's kind of like how they're timing it out, so to speak. And it came with a video where they talked about the 11 big things that have changed since the launch of No Man's Sky, and they're like, well, actually, there's been hundreds, and it's true that a lot of shit has changed. I was like, I watched the video a couple of times myself just to kind of get a feel for it, and it looks like they've been working as hard as they can to like make sure that it's a different game than it was back in 2016. However, it was kind of curious when you're on that video, you scroll through the comments, and then there's people like immediately being like, hey, how about this bug that's been around for 6 months that they still haven't fixed? When's that getting taken care of? Hello, games. And
there's always an asshole out there.
Yeah, people being like, you're getting scammed, Xbox owners. Don't buy this. And it's just like, all I saw was that the game is like dirt fucking cheap on PS4, like just generally, like not even on sale, just like that's the price.
Mm-hmm.
Because like they're just trying to as hard as they can to build up that goodwill, and I mean, I don't know. For a game this big and wacky and weird, I feel like some bugs are to be expected.
Right, of course.
But of course, if it's not fun, then like who gives a fuck? But like, could be incredibly polished. But if you're bored, then whatever. Who cares?
I mean, I'd give it another whack. Like,
yeah,
the video looks kind of cool.
It really does. It does.
So,
and I mean, you gotta hand it to the developers. They didn't, to Hello Games, they didn't pack it in. They didn't just, you know, abort and decide like, you know what? Fuck the negative press. It's not worth it. Nobody's buying the game anymore. Like, fuck it, we're out. At least they are really trying to push to make it better. They're still working at it, and the marketing is clearly around. Okay, we're not that game that everybody just took a royal dump on. 11 months ago or whenever it first came out. We've done a lot since then, and we've made all these changes, and here's 11 core changes that we made, and it looks pretty good. Will I buy it and play it? I don't know. There's so many other things I need to get to. I don't know. But the video was impressive.
Yeah. And I mean, if I don't buy it, it's because I literally don't have time for a big, expansive game like No Man's Sky. Like,
exactly.
Holy fuck, where do you find the free hours, people?
when you already have 50 or 60 hours to go on on the Octogame is what we're calling it now.
Yeah.
The Octogame.
I mean,
you still have
once
50
I get to
60 hours.
those 50 hours, then we'll get to you, Sean Murray.
Well, that problem's not actually going to get any easier in the near future now that Nintendo plans to release 20 to 30 indie games per week on the Switch.
Fuck, come on.
Okay.
That's ridiculous.
Oh.
I'm never going to get that done.
That sounds crazy. That sounds crazy. Keep in mind, right now, the number is probably like already 10 or 12 a week are coming out on that fucking system. It's insane.
It really does feel like it. Like, we get inundated with Switch code offers for these, just real cheapo, games. And they're just these indie games that they're throwing on the Switch. But you're right, there probably is 10 to 15 now that are getting dropped. And I can't imagine going from 20 to 30. It just feels like oversaturated. It feels like this is Steam 2.0. I fucking hate the idea. I hate the idea.
It seems like the Wii all over again, where they were just shoveling shit out onto the shelves, and people would walk right past all that crap to get to the Mario game.
Well, that's the thing, is that they made this big, sexy promise about being cooler to indie developers, and it's succeeding maybe a little too well, because now there's like floods of them being like, yo, we want to work with you guys now, Nintendo, and now their cup overfloweth, basically, and so they gotta kind of put their money where their mouth is, and that is probably why they're dropping so many goddamn indie games in the future.
I just hope they're screening them. You know what I mean? Because it seems like Steam, any kind of like garbage can get uploaded on Steam. I just hope that for the Switch, they're screening these games a little bit better. Which, if they're planning on upping it to 20 to 30 per week, I doubt that's happening. But oh fuck, I don't know.
Well, like, I think as long as I just feel like it'd be difficult for things to get too incredibly garbagey, so long as they have the same Nintendo filter that they've had in previous generations. Whereas it's like no actual porn, no awful nonsense. I mean, they've already broken 1.5 of those rules a couple of times, even in the last couple of months. So hey, maybe they're fucked, and it's going to be a Steam marketplace all over again.
Now, I haven't navigated the store in at least a good couple months. Are these games organized? Like, can you organize them by, let's say, review scores, like user review scores?
No.
Or is there any way to sort of sort them to sort of
no, it's a
to
fucking
separate the
nightmare,
garbage
Trev.
from the gems? You know what I mean?
It is a nightmare. It's awful. It's really bad to navigate.
You could do by top sellers, and that will kind of give you an idea of like what people are buying, but that's no barometer for quality. That just means that's what people are spending their money on.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, when even Steam can't get it right, and you can't find what you're looking for on that service either, and they have untold bazillions of dollars to spend on this stuff, like maybe there is no real answer.
Yeah, like, it's not like Valve is doing a whole fuck of a lot else with their time right now, from like, aside from like, building the money pile, so to speak.
Hey, they're doing stuff.
Sure are.
I guess I can't put this off any longer. How do you guys feel about this Guild Wars 2 thing, where some writers were fired for kind of being dicks on Twitter or something? I don't know.
Well, basically, from what I understand, it was like Reddit got these people canned.
To a degree. Yes and no. I mean, there was a community. How it happened was, a guy from the Guild Wars 2 community asked one of the devs in a polite way. I looked at the comment, the question. There was nothing wrong with his question. In sort of a polite manner, asked this dev a question, and the dev just turned on him. But backstory, and then of course, the moment the dev turned on him, this just flared up the subreddit, And then everybody on Reddit turned on her. They threatened that they weren't going to play the game anymore unless ArenaNet, I think it was ArenaNet that fired him, unless ArenaNet did something right away, or we're all going to walk away from your game and fuck you guys, because this is uncalled for that you have a dev acting like this on social media. So yeah, so they're, in a way, yes, Reddit, the outcry probably did prompt ArenaNet to like fire them like the day after. Like, it was fast. Like, it doesn't seem like there was an investigation or anything. And that's kind of like where I have a problem with this. Yes, I feel that the dev was out of line for attacking a community member like that. The dev is the professional. The dev should know better. But at the same time, like, and she said this into one of the publications afterwards, that there were contributing factors, that there was a build-up to this. She had been attacked and harassed for months leading up to this incident. And along with the co-worker, like both of them, that they had both been harassed to a degree, and that was just sort of the icing on the cake. And she just snapped, and she probably recognizes she was out of line, but it was just, you know, that was a bad day to be asking her a question. And then ArenaNet didn't even really sort of, doesn't appear they really looked into this. They saw the outcry and saw the tweet and just canned them, and it's yeah, it seems as though that's what's happened. Does her tweet, does she deserve to be fired over that tweet? I don't think so. But there definitely should have been. I don't quite understand the knee-jerk. I do and I don't understand the knee-jerk reaction on ArenaNet's part.
Yeah, well, looking at her tweet, it's like, come on, like, you didn't have to do that. It was a perfectly civil question and valid, you know, from somebody who's trying to start a conversation about a game that they're really passionate about. I don't think there's any excuse for it.
And this sounds bad, and I mean, I know Sean talks about it quite a bit, about how gaming communities can be very toxic. I mean, I don't think they are all toxic. I think there's toxic components and elements or percentage of toxic gamers out there. I don't think they all are. I just think the toxic ones you hear more about online, they're the loud fuckers that are the loudest on Twitter and Reddit, unfortunately. But yeah, it's the, you know, she's, you know, or the devs, they're the pros, and they should, is it bad to say, they should almost expect that there's going to be these assholes that are just going to challenge them online, and they have to be the better person every time. They got to rise above. They got to, you know what I mean? They have to be professional at all costs. And yeah, it's their own Twitter accounts, but it doesn't matter. Like, in this day and age, you just can't. You can't.
And we as journalists deal with that stuff all the time. Like, every time a review goes out, you got to expect to catch shit from somebody. There's always somebody with an axe to grind.
Yeah, I mean, even on my social media accounts, I have to be careful. I do, like, every time I tweet something out or I Instagram something, I try to be very careful that I'm not fucking offending anybody, or that I'm not out of line, or that I'm not making, you know, COGconnected and our podcast and I'm just not making us look bad. So just trying to be as professional as possible. I mean, you're still gonna have an opinion at times, and still, but yeah, calling the community rando asshats.
Yeah, you can't do that.
No, that's like calling our viewers or our listeners, rando asshats. How would they feel? I don't think they'd be happy.
I mean, I'm sure there's some of them out there, Sean. But, you know, I think I've brought this up before, but I'd be curious if someone has done an analysis of that Reddit thread. Like, what proportion of the comments are the ones that are the most hateful and are the ones that are trying to incite this reaction from an ArenaNet? Like, is that half? Is that 5%? Is it 1%? Like, what's that split like? How much of it is civilized?
Well, and James alluded to it, and the nasty part of all of this is that it seems it's empowered a lot of these Reddit toxic people. And so apparently, since this has happened over the last week, more devs have been under attack for things that they may have tweeted or social networked, God knows when. And that's, to me, seems really wrong. So this is kind of like a nasty side effect, which has been talked about in our world over the last couple of days, and it's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
That these assholes feel empowered that they can take down developers and publishers out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, cool, you have the power to get the people who make the things you love fired, then they just stop making the things you love, you fucking tools.
Yeah. Right.
Like, congratulations, the thing you love is gone. Good fucking job. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I'll be really curious to see if that if ArenaNet does end up coming out and saying, "Hey, no, this is not because of that Reddit thing. There was other shit going on, and this just happened to be the last straw." I'd be curious to see if they would do that. Even if that was the case, though, at this point, they've dug themselves into a little bit of a hole.
Yeah. No, I'm sure there won't be any long-term repercussions for giving the community the collective power to decide who does and does not work for these companies anymore.
Yes, sometimes I don't get it. Like today I saw on Twitter there was like this thread of these guys that were just coming after I won't mention the name or the community or whatnot, but they were up in arms about a particular weapon and how it needed to be powered down. Like it was just overpowered. And this game has been out for, oh my God, like at least 2 years. And these people are on Twitter just losing their mind over this particular weapon and how like it's overpowered. And I'm like thinking, holy fuck, like, man, get a fucking life, you tools. Like, are you serious? This game has been out forever. Go play another game if you're so fucking unhappy with that shotgun or machine gun, whatever it is. Go play something else. Like, honest to God. Just carrying on and just being like nasty online. Like, it's ridiculous.
I gotta say, I used to play a lot of Diablo 3, and that's kind of like the stunted little cousin, basically, at this point, of like Blizzard's family of games. Because, like, it doesn't generate a lot of hype and a lot of people give a shit about it. And so, like, the updates don't really roll in the way they used to. But for the longest time, anytime they changed anything, ever, you'd get people saying, like, you didn't change enough, you need to change more. Why aren't you changing more things? Why aren't you doing more for this game? And like, back in like 2012 when it was brand new and, to be honest, pretty fucked. Like there's a lot of problems with the system. And it's just like people were complaining. I was like, man, this is pretty legit. These people have got some major grievances. I totally understand. Cut to like 3.5 years later when the game is completely different from how it was in 2012, a completely different experience. All these huge sweeping changes have been made at like no cost to any gamer ever. It's just like stuff they implemented over time and with labor. And it's like 2 totally different games between 2012 and 2016. And there's still just like page after page of people in the comment threads for every Blizzard announcement being like, you guys need to change more. This game is dead. You're not doing enough for Diablo 3. And it's just like, I just came to the realization that some people just really, really need a platform to air their grievances. And if it's not going to be like a game forum or a thread or a Twitter page, where's it going to be? These people just desperately need a soapbox to climb up on top of and get their fingers flexed and to let people know that they exist and to please, dear God, acknowledge them at least for a moment, right? And it's just, for some reason, games are the go-to.
Yeah.
On that note, I think we should move away from the news. I mean, there's a couple other pieces here, but
yeah.
Well, we already talked about the Far Cry 5 DLC that comes out this week, and looks pretty badass. And then the only other thing was that white controller, which it's not. I thought it looked pretty cool when we published that yesterday, but God, like, Xbox always has cool controllers, and if there's any area I feel that Xbox beats PS4, it's in the controller department. They seem to always have really rock solid controllers, everything from their Elite to even their adaptive controller, which is really cool. They seem to are consistently able to up their controller game, including apparently an Elite 2.0, which is also in the works. Anybody that's got an Elite controller, believe me, if you've got an Elite controller, you aren't using anything else. That is your favorite controller. And I have one, and I love it. Love it. Worth every expensive penny.
There are rumors floating around that there's going to be an Elite 2 controller sometime in the near future.
That's right. That's apparent. I thought that was confirmed. I want to say that I want to say Windows Central reported within the last week that it's they reported something, everything we know about Elite version 2 controller. Yeah, it's happening. I don't know when, but it's in the works. Apparently.
Interesting.
According to Windows Central.
Well, that might come out someday, but why don't we talk about what is coming out in the here and now? Because there are actually a few releases this week.
Good games, too.
The first thing that's on the list here is Shining Resonance Refrain from Sega, which sounds like a real James game.
You are correct. I played this at E3. I played the demo. It falls into the trap that a lot of anime games fall into for me, in which there is so much talking. And I mean, it's great that they had these voice actors and they're really putting them through their paces, but like, just give me the fucking elevator pitch, I don't want to sit here for 7 or 8 minutes where you guys go into like all your feelings for every character and you have to do a fucking camera cut to everybody's reaction to everything that everybody else says. Holy cow. Really? We're turning slightly to the left? It's just let me hurt things with a sword. Please, please let me hurt things with a sword.
Skip.
Yeah, and I felt really bad when I was playing the demo, and there's this, you can tell this lady who had been like there all day, like watching people play this, and she's like watching me like go through the things, and eventually I can't do it anymore. I'm like, nope, just mashing the A button, like, all right, get me to the part where I can hurt people.
just shaking her head like, whoa.
So like, yeah, I don't care. He's a dragon. He's got dragon powers. Oh my god, it's so rad. Can I use them? No. Wow. Who gives a fuck? And then, but it was fun when I was actually playing. It was cool.
It was probably the poor sap that put those cutscenes together too, right? Like it's probably her watching over your shoulder. She's like, "Oh, I worked so hard on that scene." Skip.
No. For the Japanese games like that, the people who are at the conferences are generally like local staff or like localization staff, so they might have something to do with the writing. In which case, again, sorry, but I just have terribly low attention span and not a lot of time, and yeah.
Well, our review for that one is already live, and T gave it an 82, so it's got
wow,
it's a pretty solid score right there.
Yeah, like I said, when I was playing, it was great.
Up next is Defiance 2050, which I'm not sure is related to the first or last Defiance game.
It is.
I think it is, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that game was kind of not great, but maybe had promise.
It still doesn't look that great, but it's free, isn't it?
It is free.
Yeah, that is not a selling point anymore. Free
really
is a lie. That's not what it is. It's not free. There's a demo that you can play through that looks exactly like the real game, but absolutely isn't. And then you can play that demo for as long as you can before eventually you just have to spend money or it's not fun anymore.
But it's free!
Yay, but it's free. It's
so
and yet,
is it a giant, like, is it like a 50 versus 50 battle royale type game? Like, I really don't know much about it.
I
I know the in the trailer it's like huge co-op battles, gigantic weapon selection, rawr. But I have no idea like how this plays. Is it like Fortnite's 50 versus 50 mode? Like, yeah, I don't know.
I hear it's like was bad, and then people have like higher hopes for this version. Because apparently the original Defiance was sharply divided in terms of critical reception. A lot of people were pretty bummed out by like the moment-to-moment experience, but like I guess the people who have played the previous version are seeing all the like the trailer and footage and the info that's dropping, and it looks somewhat promising. I don't know.
Well, maybe consider that if you were a giant fan of the last Defiance game.
Yeah.
Up next, we got Captain Toad Treasure Tracker on the Switch. One of those Nintendo titles that is absolutely dripping with Nintendo whimsy, and it's got Toad wearing a headlamp. God, it was great on the Wii U, and if you've never played it, you should play it on the Switch for sure.
Yeah, it looks really. The trailer looks fantastic, and I know Alex Everett is reviewing that for us right now, and he is loving it as well. Yeah, it looks great. It's got that classic platforming element that we all kind of love, and yeah, it looks really vibrant and slick.
Yeah, they've got Nintendo polish down to a fucking science.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they want that game to look a certain kind of good, by God, they will succeed.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
They will indeed. We've also got Earthfall, which is coming from Gearbox Publishing, and that's kind of a otherworldly Left 4 Dead sort of thing.
Yeah, it's got a Left 4 Dead feel, doesn't it?
And it's got all kinds of that Unreal Engine motion blur. But it does look pretty cool. I'd be interested in giving that one a shot.
Yeah, it looks like it's a game best played as it's a co-op shooter, so it's best played with some pals, with some friends, with some amigos.
Some buds.
It's got some bros. Some dudes.
I'm okay with us keeping predatory microtransactions if we can, in exchange, get rid of motion blur. Can we do that? Because like I'm so fucking done with that Unreal motion blur in games. To me, it is an immediate sign of like a lower than average budget.
So wait, you might have to explain to listeners, and when I say explain to listeners, explain to Trevor what exactly is the motion blur that you're referring to. Like, I don't quite understand
when
what that
you're
is.
developing a game with the Unreal Engine, one of the tools they apparently give you access to that you can implement is this ability for shit to go like blurry for a second when you're like moving around. Like it just sort of it glosses over any like animation issues or whatever. It just gives it that like, oh, it's like you're panning a camera around kind of look. However, unfortunately, the pattern I've noticed is that only very small indie games will have it on at all, and usually you can just turn it off, and then the game just magically looks better, leaving me to wonder why it is a feature at all. Terrible games will not let you turn it off, and will just have you suffering under motion blur for the whole fucking experience, and it sucks.
To be fair, when done right, it does look really cool. But I can't claim that I've seen an Unreal Engine 4 game that had what I would call acceptable to good motion blur.
Yeah,
off the top of my head.
When done right, it's great. However, it's never been done right, but is what I'm hearing from you.
With Unreal Engine 4, maybe. Based on what we saw of Last of Us 2, it looks like there's quite a bit of motion blur. But that looked phenomenal.
Well, because with that, what they're doing is they're trying to reproduce that idea of a movie in motion, like a camera.
Yeah.
Like they're going for a cinematic effect with every fiber of their fucking being. You know, like the way the camera cuts are done, and the way like the characters interact, and the way they like cut from like scene to scene, and how everything is put together. It all feels cinematic. So in that instance, motion blur feels like a natural extension of the toolkit. But if it's just like a 3D game where you explore a world and they're like, oh, by the way, we got your motion blur for you right here. Like, no, put it back. Put it away.
So you're saying it doesn't work when the main character is like 14 polygons?
Yeah, like, what was it that the Yonder Chronicles or whatever. Yonder Cloudcatcher Chronicles, okay? That game did not need motion blur. It was pretty enough on its own. I loved it. It was so much fun. It didn't fucking need motion blur.
And yet
it has it. That's right.
Well, the last thing on the release list this week is motherfucking Octopath Traveler.
Yeah, right. The Octogame.
The Octogame, that's right.
Square Enix's Octogame on the Nintendo Switch.
Boom.
Yeah, that is definitely the standout this week with a solid honorable mention to Captain Toad.
Oh, yeah. Treasure Tracker also looks like a pretty dope time if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, that is 2 AAA full price releases on your Switch this week. Take that, Microsoft and Sony.
Good week for Switch owners this week. No doubt.
Definitely. In what would usually be the dog days of summer.
Yeah.
Next up would be the email, but I didn't actually look at it.
Well, I guess you'd have to look at the email to know if we have any emails. It's kind of what you got to do.
Oh. There is email.
There's email.
Definitely some email here. All right. I'm not going to vet these whatsoever. I'm just going to read them. So we'll see how this goes. This one comes in from Kyle, who says, "Hi there.
Hello, Kyle.
I don't think he can hear you, Trev.
Oh.
But thanks,
But he's listening right now, and he's like, hey,
hey, man.
Oh,
hey, Kyle.
Hey, bro.
I just wanted to hear your thoughts about relationships between gamers. Oh, do you find yourselves more likely to date other gamers? I myself am a big gamer, but those who I have dated have always been non-gamers."
Well, my wife right now, I would consider my wife a non-gamer, but she does play a fuckload of mobile games, which I have no idea what she's playing on her phone, but she does play a lot of mobile games, but I would not consider her a gamer. Nor have I really ever been with a gamer gal.
Yeah, I'd probably call my wife a non-gamer. I mean, she does game. Like, she plays stuff like Mario and Ratchet and Clank and platformers like that. But for the most part, she's into games if it's some kind of cinematic thing. So, like, we played through Life is Strange together and Captain Spirit the other week, and anything where there's a big bombastic story, she's all about. But I'd still call her a non-gamer.
I would dispute that, but that's fine.
Yeah, I would say that's on the cusp. That's right on.
Yeah,
you know,
because my girlfriend is not a gamer because like she almost physically can't be. Like, she can't play things like that for long periods of time because it gives her terrible motion sickness. So definitely not a gamer, and that's fine. Like that just is what it is. Your wife kind of sounds like she might actually be a gamer.
Yeah, the reason I say non-gamer is that if I wasn't around talking about games all the time and sitting her down in front of stuff and handing her a controller, there's no way she would play a game. Like, she doesn't follow games at all and would have no idea that a new Mario game had come out if I wasn't like, hey, I'm reviewing this. It's 100 out of 100 game. You should play some of it. And she's like, okay.
and let's not forget, she's a trooper. She's a true trooper, because I have tuned in to a few of your streams, your Extra Life 24-hour streams, at some, godly hours of the morning and night, and there she is, right beside you, I don't know if she's gaming much, but you are gaming, and I think your brother or brother-in-law.
Yep, my brother.
You guys are gaming, and she is right there with you on the couch as you do the 24-hour extra life thing for the kids. So she may not, if she's not a gamer in any way, she is fully supportive of those nasty habits of yours.
Absolutely, and they have to be, because this little ditty that we do called COGconnected, it takes up, oh god, ungodly number of hours per week.
Sure
My
does.
God.
It sure does.
This is a total aside, but how do you guys feel about a Press X Extra Life? Press Extra Life.
Oh, all in. Like, it's funny because I was talking to my daughter yesterday, who's into her final year at UVic. And she was mentioning to me the other day, she's like, do you guys like partner up with any charities or like that? And I'm like, well, no, we don't. We should. I'd love to partner up with a charity, but we do our Extra Life, or a few of the guys on the crew, they do the Extra Life. And when I say a few of the guys, I think, Paul, you're pretty much the only one that does the Extra Life.
Definitely
so
spearheading it, yeah.
you are the everything when it comes to the Extra Life stuff. But yeah, like we should get a crew together to do the to do Extra Life, and maybe get some of our listeners involved too. So
right.
Yeah, I think we should do it up big this year.
Yeah. I'll draft it up. Start recruiting.
Fuck yeah.
Oh yeah.
And our other email comes in from Josh, who says, Press Xers, I could care less about crossplay, but because of the hubbub, I had some questions. Are there any concerns between PC games and malware attaching to a Sony console?
Ooh. Oh, that's a good question. I feel like that's a question best left for Paul and James to answer.
I think it's probably highly unlikely. I think consoles use different microcode and so on, so I don't think you could really infect a console from a PC.
Yeah, Sony's network is hilariously hackable, but I don't think crossplay makes it any easier.
Yeah.
I think it's just baseline embarrassingly bad in terms of security, like, by itself. And, like, I don't think interactions with PC games traditionally make that any worse.
Mm-hmm. Additionally, he wonders, would mods on PC affect the PlayStation experience? How are these subjects handled between other consoles who crossplay? The reason he brings this up is he's thinking about the recent Fortnite adware thing and whether that could cross-pollinate to the PlayStation.
Not as far as I know. I know for mods, they generally don't talk to each other in terms of, like, consoles. Like, I know, like, Skyrim, for example, is a really famous example of a game with, like, mods, and that if they're on PC, like, you don't really see them in other systems.
Mm-hmm.
Like, specific, like, any given specific mod will be a PC mod and a PC mod alone. Like, there could be counterexamples that I just don't know about, but my understanding is that they keep to their own houses, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it would be really complicated to use that as, like, a vehicle.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of maybe affecting the console experience would be people on PC using programs like aimbots and things like that. That could definitely be a problem. But as far as people getting their hands on those and implementing them on the console, I highly doubt it.
It would be crazy hard, yes.
Well, thanks to Kyle and Josh for sending in emails. I'm glad I checked.
Yeah, great emails.
Those are well worth reading.
Emails.
Thanks for sending those in. And if you would like to send in an email to us, you can send it to pressxpodcast@gmail.com. That is pressxpodcast@gmail.com. And also get on our Facebook group where people like John are creating polls about what our favorite Halo game is. And I think it's pretty clear that that's Halo 2. Yep, there you go, buddy.
Yeah. Halo 2.
A couple of suckers have clicked on ODST, but for the most part, it's Halo 2. No love for Halo 1, Halo 3, or Halo Reach as of yet. Interesting that 4 and 5 didn't even make it into the poll.
No,
Yeah,
they gave up by then.
I think he like mentioned specifically, it's like, yeah, no, I'm not counting those. That's just how it is.
Yeah, fuck those games. They suck. And with that, I think it's time to move into the perfect list.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Right.
What is this week's perfect list?
I'm going to mute myself for a second because the wife's coming in the front door.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll be back in like a hot second. Actually, I won't
With
mute
like
myself.
a bag of groceries clanging together.
She's trying to be really quiet. I might not even cut this part out. This is fine. She's being really quiet.
Yeah.
Well, last week...
Cat-like.
Yeah, and the cat is in fact watching her as she comes in the front door. So last week we did the 10 best games thus far in 2018.
We did.
Which was a highly successful list. Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we should follow it up this week with the biggest letdowns of the year so far.
The most disappointing. So not the worst, the most disappointing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's go with disappointing, because I think there are plenty of bad games, but there are plenty of disappointing ones too.
We could just go through those 20 some odd Switch indies that come out and probably come out with some real stinkers in there. But that's to be expected. These are games that should have been much better than they were.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't mind going first on this because I have a great first choice.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
I guarantee you'll be surprised by what I say.
Oh. Oh.
I'm going to go with Super Seducer.
Oh, yeah. That is awesome.
Oh my god.
Really? How much better should that have been?
I don't know.
I mean, it has super right in the fucking name. Promises were made, you guys.
Exactly. I mean, I was so disappointed with the acting and the writing, and the graphics were terrible, and I really thought it should have been a better experience.
We got codes for that, but I can't remember who played it. I actually might have gave it to one of the video guys just as like, hey, can you do a Super Seducer video? Like, we won't review this, but can you just do some kind of video with it?
Yeah, Garrett played it, and I played it as well.
Nice.
Yeah, it's terrible. It is terrible.
Did you practice some of those seducing moves on your wife? Like, did you practice some of those moves?
Oh, you better believe I did. I've got the scars and bruises to prove it. It's just so
Super
insane.
Seducer.
It's ridiculous. Like, it's trying to poke fun at itself because some of the answers are clearly meant as jokes just to see, the guy get shot down. But, it's just, oh.
And the best part, there's a sequel in the works.
No.
No word of a lie. You can Google it, because I don't think we posted about it, but you can Google it. There is a Super Seducer 2 on the way.
Oh
Wow.
my god.
Can't wait for that. Why don't we move on to our second pick with Trevor?
Oh, I am going... Ooh, geez. I'm going to go a little bit off the grid as well. I'm going to go with Crisis on the Planet of the Apes VR.
Really?
We scored this game when I first heard about it, I thought that this screamed like game changer for the VR, that this is exactly what the VR needs. They need to hit a home run with sort of a real amazing cinematic Planet of the Apes type game where I can like basically become an ape and jump around and do amazing things and bite people's heads off. And it was anything but. It was hot garbage. Hot garbage. And a huge disappointment. At a time when VR really needs a home run, which I feel that they do really need a home run, Planet of the Apes VR, like so many other VR games, just fell short and lands as my first most disappointed game for the list.
this is a total aside, but another game that I feel like might be that game that pulls me into VR that Felix is playing right now is Seeking Dawn. And I don't know how he's doing with that, but it looks cool.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't heard or seen too much about that.
Which concerns me.
Yeah. I think part of that might be that like a lot of like the regular press is kind of over VR at the moment.
Yeah.
And it's going to take like an actual fucking game changer to get people writing about it again. Which sucks.
It's probably a great discussion for another podcast because we could probably go on and on about like sort of the state of VR and the direction it's going or not going. So I don't really want to get into it too much, but yeah, I'm with you. It feels like journalists and the media aren't talking about it too much. At E3, there wasn't much of a presence. I'm personally a little bit worried about VR. Absolutely.
I was going to launch into another point about that, but we'll save it for another cast. So, James, why don't you give us your first pick?
I think Extinction is probably going to be my first on the list because I personally reviewed it and it looked really fucking cool. And I was like, sweet, you get to fight giant ogres, and I'm into that. Be a little dude, do big moves, take down big monsters. But it hurt me inside so badly trying to get through that game. I really put in as much work as I could before I just couldn't turn it on again because it was like a gross, repetitive, nasty ass fucking slog. And you know, I wanted it to be good. It was the other thing, and so yes, that's the first on my list.
All right.
They talked a big game about that too, which it makes it even sadder because they were still trying to get the hype train a rolling, but no good. For my second pick, I am going to be extremely predictable, and I'm going to say State of Decay 2.
There it is.
Yeah. What can you say? It should have been better than it was. Just the moment to moment in that game is mind-numbingly boring because the characters suck, the animations suck, the control sucks, the gameplay sucks. The things that were good about it or were interesting and I wanted more of, they just made it so obtuse and difficult to get into. That being the base management and building up your crew. Basically, they made it really, really hard for somebody who likes that kind of stuff to want to do it. And that's a true shame because Microsoft needed a home run out of that, and I guess they got it in sales, but I don't know why people are playing it.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that it was the top seller for May, I believe, and I think we talked about it last week, but yeah, it was the top seller for May, and you're like, what? How is that even possible? But I guess there are... it's got a lot of fans, and a lot of Xbox owners are looking for something new and enjoyable, and maybe this is doing it for them.
Yep.
I mean, I do understand it has received a couple since your build, and you're playing it before the game's even released, so you don't have the advantage of the 5 billion updates that have probably happened to the game since then. So I do hear that it's the updates have really improved it. I have heard that.
Yeah, I should dip back into that and see if it's any better now.
Yeah, I've got Game Pass now, so I kind of want to download it myself and give it a go when I'm done with Lara.
Camilla and Lara.
Lara, that's my bad Lara accent. Let's go tomb raiding. I sound more like an Australian. Oh god. Oh, let's move on. Oh god.
Oh boy. Trev, I believe you're up.
Oh, my turn. I am going to go with The Crew. Or no, it's not even The Crew 2. Talk about a game that was released quietly right after E3, right at the tail end of E3. This Ubisoft released The Crew 2. And I just view this game as a huge missed opportunity. Like there should have been way more hype around it. I mean, I see the traffic that is tied to everything Crew 2 that we posted on COGconnected, and nobody gave a rip about the Crew 2. Like, nobody gives two shits. And I think a lot of it is it's just not that enjoyable to play. It doesn't have that polish or anywhere near the polish that Forza has. And I just I feel like it was pushed out for release prematurely, and it's just like they're like, we can't compete with Forza Horizon 4, so fuck it, we're going to release it now and just see what happens. And I think the end result speaks to that.
Yeah, there's no way they wanted it to go head-to-head with Forza this fall, because it would just get slaughtered. At least maybe they'd get a few sales out of it, releasing it now.
But I know I think the review score it got from us was pretty average, maybe less than stellar. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I think sales are terrible. Yeah, and I don't think sales are anything flattering. So yeah, that's my disappointment going on the list.
I don't. Yeah, James.
I don't know. There's been a few that I expected to be pretty great that truly sucked. New Gundam Breaker was, I don't know, it's Gundam, and you build Gundams, and then you fight with Gundams, and like, how could that possibly go wrong? And it has and continues to. And I think sometime in July or maybe sometime in August, there's going to be some patches that maybe address some of the problems. Although, from what I can tell, the core experience and all of its inherent frustrations will be intact. So technically it will perform better, but the game itself will still be really repetitive and grindy and needlessly punishing. So, there's that.
It's amazing that they can screw up giant robots. Isn't it? Like, that should be a no-brainer.
That should be gaming 101.
Yeah. But I mean, like, it's surprisingly hard to do giant robots. 100-foot robot golf, that's a game involving giant robots that I think also has problems, but it's fun to play with people, so it is more salvageable. But like, giant robots are hard. That's what I'm saying. You think it's gonna be really easy, but it turns out it's actually really hard to make giant robots work.
To sum it up, giant robots are hard.
Yeah.
Take that however you want. For my third pick, I'm gonna go back to the survival game with Metal Gear Survive.
Oh, I knew you'd pick that one too.
It's kind of...
it's a great pick. Great pick.
It's a little tough to get on this list because I don't think I expected very much of it. Yet it was still a disappointment. No, yeah, it's on the list. Metal Gear Survive. It's a disappointing game that because it's got the Metal Gear label on there. I think it would have been a lot more successful had they just called it Survive, right, or something like that, and just taken away the trappings of the Metal Gear franchise and just put some other wacky bullshit on there. Because the game itself isn't that bad. The moment-to-moment stuff is actually not too bad. It's decent. And the balancing of meters is, of course, super oppressive because it's a survival game. But yeah, I'm actually struggling to remember a lot of the beats that in the story or the gameplay outside of the basic loop of putting up fences and stabbing crystal-headed monsters through the fence. So yeah,
wow,
it's a disappointing game.
Really selling it hard there.
Hey, it's a letdown. One of the biggest this year, I'd say.
I would agree with you, and I think many Metal Gear fans would agree with you as well. And and you, Paul, are like one of the biggest Metal Gear fans that I know. And if you're walking away telling me, yeah, this Metal Gear game is balls, I will absolutely believe you and trust you on that assessment because, yeah, you typically do enjoy your Metal Gear games.
Mm-hmm.
I think most Metal Gear fans were disappointed that Konami was continuing to make the games after Kojima left.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a slap in the face.
Yeah. It's like, fuck you guys, we could still do this. You clearly can't. Like,
very
you demonstrably can't do it. Yeah.
Trev,
Yeah,
Your
this
last
one's a
pick?
hard one. Yeah, last one. I'm making it a gooder. I mean, this one's a tough one for me to pick because I did have, I had a time when it was when there was several of us, and I think all three of us played together. When we made some videos for the tubes for the YouTube channel, playing sea of Thieves. When we jumped and we played a little bit of the beta, and then the game came out, and we played a little bit there. And yeah, we had some moments that were really enjoyable, but outside of those really enjoyable moments, there really wasn't much substance there. Just like eating that Mars bar I had earlier today, it was really enjoyable in the moment, but I'd pay for it dearly, at the gym later on. So I feel like Sea of Thieves. I feel like Sea of Thieves is that game that it's enjoyable in the moment, but after that, there's really no substance, and I was bored with it really quickly. And then especially after playing Skull and Bones at E3, which really showed me what a naval combat game should be and what Sea of Thieves could have been. After playing that, I don't think it's even close between the two. So for me, Sea of Thieves is a disappointment. Now, I say that knowing that it is getting some amazing content. That I think what we saw was maybe 30% of the finished product. So I've got it on Game Pass. I might jump back into it, but yeah, for me, it's one of my biggest disappointments of the year so far.
That's a totally fair assessment. It should not have been released without the content it needed to survive, which it was. But
James
it might
right
still
now is
survive
like,
anyway.
Wait a second.
Yeah. Okay. So next is me. Next is James.
That's
It
correct.
is. Last
Okay.
pick.
I'm gonna go with the Secret of Mana remake for my next big disappointment of 2018 so far, because it would have been so well. It's complicated because it was really disappointing, and I had reasonably high expectations for this game, but they were connected to an original experience, like with the Super NES version, that I was essentially misremembering. Like, I had this idea in my head of like, oh, Secret of Mana, that was that amazing Super NES action RPG. It was so much fun. I loved it. It was great. And then I go back and I play the PS4 version. I realize, like, at first I was really frustrated and angry and upset. And I was like, man, this is fucking terrible. What is this? But slowly I started to realize that they had exactly perfectly preserved the controls and the mechanics and the problems and the issues that came with the Super NES version. It was just that same flawed, actually kind of shitty gaming experience given a 3D upgrade, and it really cut me deep, I was like, oh, damn, this was just terrible the whole time. That's no good. So yeah, there was Secret of Mana was definitely one of my biggest disappointments of 2018 so far, but for like complicated reasons.
Have you gone back to play the Super NES version lately?
Yeah, and it is exactly that frustrating.
Interesting.
The only thing that the Super NES version has over the HD version is that they did these new updated versions of the songs, and you can tell they weren't super committed to them because they give you the option to switch back to the original soundtrack. and the difference between the two is like one is like the new ones are like grating and overly energetic, and like they try to cram every instrument ever into like every part of every song, and it just like pushes up against your fucking eardrums, and you're like, oh, you're like uncomfortable, and you go back to the cool basic synthy fun bouncy beats of the original. You're like, oh, this is so much better. But yeah, everything else is like exactly as it was, and it makes me sad.
Well, that's a shame. I'm sorry your childhood was ruined by Secret of Mana HD.
I mean, it was not, and that's a silly thing to say, but I appreciate your sympathy.
All right, it is time for our last pick, and the game that I'm going to pick is a game called Agony, which was pitched like 3 or 4 years ago as kind of a first-person tour of hell, which sounds incredibly awesome and equally incredibly ambitious. And they just did not get there. It's kind of boring and confusing, and the production values are all over the map. It's not something you want to play, which is too bad because the original trailer and the story trailers and whatnot they came with along the way looked so promising. So this is a Kickstarter, a botched Kickstarter, I would say. Yeah, unfortunately, a very sad title.
Very sad indeed.
So that's 10. The biggest letdowns of 2018 so far are Sea of Thieves, State of Decay 2, Metal Gear Survive, Extinction, Super Seducer, Crisis on the Planet of the Apes, Crew 2, New Gundam Breaker, Secret of Mana HD, and Agony.
There you have it.
That is
All right.
That is a whole list full of sadness.
Wah, wah, wah. Yeah.
We might need to rethink wrapping up the cast with a sad perfect list because I'm not sure how to bring this back, guys.
Comfort yourselves with the fact that some pretty good shit is coming out this week.
Right.
And that I can personally vouch for at least one of them.
That's right. Go pick yourself up Square Enix's Octogame and Nintendo's
Octogame.
Treasure Tracking Captain Toad, the Searchlight helmet-having Toad head guy. I know I said I was going to play Red Strings Club this week, but as I was going to download it, I discovered that it was going to be free on Twitch Prime. And as an Amazon Prime member, I'll just get it free sometime this week or next week. But I promise to play it once I get it for free, because free is better than paying.
Yes,
It is. It is. You won't be disappointed. Probably. I mean, I liked it. I don't know.
You maybe possibly won't be fully disappointed. It's going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything you guys are like thinking about playing this week outside of Octogame?
I would really like to finish Rise of the Tomb Raider, and then when that is done, the Octogame probably, maybe. I'm going to an event next week, a little EA Sports event. So I will be checking out the new Madden, the new NHL, the new FIFA, and NBA. So I hope to... So yeah, I won't be on next week's podcast, but I hope to be on the week after, where, provided there's no embargo, I can talk about some of those sports games for sports fans out there. We know you're out there. Yeah, so that's what I'm up to next week.
If there's one thing you know about the Press X crew, it's that we love to talk about that sports ball.
Do we ever?
Sportland Sports, #1 in points.
Yeah. Well... I mean, you're a sports guy, Paul, but I mean, I probably would talk about sports a little bit more if certainly there was an appetite out there for sports. It's one of those things where, we post a lot about sports news and sports games, and y'all aren't really checking out the news. I think it's become this thing where fans, like Madden fans, all kind of congregate together, and they have the Madden forums and the Madden YouTubers and the Madden subreddits, and that's kind of, I think, where they go for their news. And same thing with hockey. There's the hockey fans all sort of stick together, and they get their news from the hockey sites. And I think that's the same goes for FIFA. They aren't necessarily coming to COGconnected for their latest FIFA news, unfortunately.
No.
Well, they should be.
They should be.
And they will be. Yeah, they will be once we take over.
Well, and I'm going to be trying all these new games, so if you want sort of my take, I'll be able to provide that to you. So,
well, there we go. Perfect.
As a veteran sports gamer, Trev knows a lot about Madden. Like, a lot.
Yeah, I've played them all. Yeah.
All the way back to Madden 1.
Yeah, I think so. Probably pretty close. Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for the cast this week. This has been episode number 24 of Press X the Podcast with your buddies, Paul, James, and Trevor. If you liked what you heard, could you please go subscribe and give us a review on iTunes? Do all that stuff, tell your friends. We'd love to grow, get bigger, get faster, get hotter. The Press X crew.
Getting hotter all the time. My God, it's amazing. It's a real sight to see.
The heat is incredible.
It's a fucking event.
Unbearable, even.
Yeah, uncomfortable at the very least.
It's tough to be us, and you'll see us back here once again next week with episode 25, possibly with the return of Salty Sean. Look forward to that.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
Until then, this is us signing off. Take care, everybody, and we will see you later.
Peace out.
Bye.
And that's a wrap. Oh, we're only 3 minutes late. Not bad. Not bad.